Hello, and welcome to another edition of Storytelling on Orchard Street. I'm your host, Pete Salamedia, and we're in the P&T Knitwear Bookstore Podcast Studio, 180 Orchard Street. It's a great bookstore, lots of books to choose from of all genres. They got a nice cafe, you can order a drink, a cappuccino, and they have great events here, so you should check that out. But with me today, my guest is Felix Guzman. He's a New York City native, a homegrown poet, a community organizer, and advocate. Felix is the author of 3 chapbooks: Savage Garden, Concrete Jungle, a chapbook to remember me by; Shakur&Bronte&Hughes&Angelou&Shakespeare, Under the Influence and Scars, a love letter to yesterday. Felix writes on themes of redemption, transformation, and the importance of building healthy communities inclusive of all. With an upcoming full-length poetry collection, You Hold Space, You Have Value, You're Loved, to be released, well, this by the year's end, actually. This was written a few months ago, so I'm going to ask you if that's still true. Felix is sure to captivate audiences everywhere. Welcome, Felix.
Yes, hello.
Wait, did I? Sorry.
Hello.
I had you muted. Sorry.
Hi, Pete.
So you wrote this. You were going to be on the show last year. So what's the situation with the new book?
The book is on hold. I'm going to be
Okay.
entering a contest, and I'm putting it out there and manifesting it that I'm going to win. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
You hope for a release this year then?
Yes, definitely a release by April. April.
Great. So in your bio that you wrote, you said that you're a New York City native?
Yes, born and raised.
What borough?
Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. You still live there?
Yes.
All right.
I have a rent-stabilized apartment, so it's
Nice. Okay. Well, that's a good reason to still be there.
It's
You like it?
It's
You like living there?
It's grown on me a bit. You know,
Right.
a lot different. My experience as a child than being an adult now.
Right. And family?
It's just me. It's just me.
Okay.
Present moment there.
Right. So, growing up, what was your family situation like? Did you get along well with your folks?
I have 3 brothers. It was my dad died when I was about 12.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And my mom raised us. You know, she raised us on food stamps, pantry, and church.
And hard
food
work.
And prayers and
Right.
a mother's love.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the love for the arts come from?
I was always this nerdy kind of guy, but I fell in love with
You must have grown out of that nerdy bit.
No. No, once a nerd, always a nerd.
Okay, and proud to be one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I always liked writing, but I didn't try anything creative. It was always like essays and stuff that I'd win contests and stuff. I was 99.99 percentile in the nation in reading and math until like the 8th grade.
Wow.
And I wrote.
I was never 99% in anything.
I wrote a poem for a young lady that was in my class. She liked it, but friend zoned me, and then
Cool.
I kind of did it right for a while, and then freshman year of high school, I had a traumatic event happen, and then I wasn't really understanding what life meant, and that was freshman year, first semester, first month, September.
Wow, that's terrible.
And second semester, I was introduced to Shakespeare, and the beauty of a whole novel, and pages upon pages of a cohesive story, and it was just amazing.
Uh-huh.
And I got introduced to Emily Bronte, and I grew up reading the poetry of like Maya Angelou and Langston Hughes, but I didn't really kind of feel like I could write something along the lines of something that had like a cultural significance.
Right.
But I had gotten mugged at gunpoint freshman year, and
You what?
I got mugged at gunpoint.
Oh God, that was the traumatic experience you're talking about.
And I just kind of fell out of love with life, and
Right. That's a scary situation.
Yeah, it was
it in your neighborhood or somewhere
It was
else?
actually going into my building.
Wow,
They
that's even worse.
They followed me home, and
Right.
I got pistol whipped into and out of
Whoa.
consciousness several times.
Holy
it was
cow.
pretty intense.
That's
yeah,
terrible. Were you hospitalized?
No, I went to school the very next day.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
So, you know, it's...
no time for letting your wounds heal?
No, and...
By the way, I want to acknowledge that we have a studio audience.
Yes.
We have the fantastic David.
Yes.
I don't know your last name, sorry. Martinez. All right.
And I fell in love with writing, and I just, from that point on, 14, I just kept writing, and it's 30 years now.
Great.
30 years of poetry.
Were you interested in any other form of art?
Well, at that point in time, I had some very antiquated beliefs about the arts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that theater was kind of weird, and for like, you know, just like the weird kids. And so I didn't get into theater. I got into it much later, but I loved it when I did get into it.
Okay.
And I wasn't musically inclined,
Right.
and so I was just kind of writing for myself, and you know, writing to possibly get behind the mic sometime in the future. And,
Right.
Because
for me, music kind of saved me
Yes.
get through the difficult times in life, and I didn't realize I liked poetry, writing poetry till fairly recent. So it took me a long time, but then a lot of my poetry is kind of music influenced.
Awesome.
So I was just wondering, was there any other influences in your writing that way? You know.
Probably folksy singer-songwriter kind of stuff.
Right.
But also just my 5 main poetry influences that have influenced my writing completely to that I kind of created a style from are Emily Bronte, William Shakespeare, Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes, and Emily. Did I say Emily Bronte?
Yes.
Okay, 5 people. Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes, Tupac Shakur, William Shakespeare. Emily
There you
Bronte.
go, Tupac.
And, yeah,
well, that's a eclectic and also very legendary list there, right? So
I think
a lot of different styles to draw upon. Yeah.
The beauty of one thing that I kind of fell in love with was the beauty of sorrow, where it doesn't have to be this scary thing. It doesn't have to be an ugly.
Well,
thing.
it's in all of us. It's part of life.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you found your love of poetry in high school. Did you study it after high school?
I took one class at community college.
Okay.
And I didn't like it.
Wow.
I didn't like it. It was studying the classics, the beat poets.
Right. Okay.
And I just couldn't...
what didn't you like about it?
I just couldn't relate to the topics,
Okay.
the themes, and also there was a lot of studying different other poets on nature, and I just couldn't relate to like
I get it.
nature.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, New York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could relate to concrete and steel a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what did you study in college?
I studied. I have an associate's in website development and business administration, and when I transferred to the post the community college, I was going to Hunter College to study to become a therapist, a social worker actually.
Okay. Right.
And I was taking about 7 classes, including drug counseling classes, and it just life overwhelmed me, you know. Throughout my life, because of the different traumas that I've been through and whatnot, depression kind of overwhelms me, and then I have to take a break.
Right.
And so poetry saved my life.
But you're very aware of this, right?
Yes. It's just very... in hindsight, I'm aware of it, but I'm going through it. I have to take a step back and analyze and do personal inventory. Then I'm aware of it in the moment, but it's not always reflexive like that.
Right. But did you? So you didn't go into that field?
No.
Or how have you made a living all these years?
I had a child, and that relationship was sour.
Okay. How old is your?
He's gonna be 10 on the 30th.
Okay.
And since
this
then,
month.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
Since then, I've actually just been kind of making a living as a peer specialist and workshop facilitator. So, peer specialist is someone who lives with has experience with the mental health system.
Okay.
Who helps other people who have mental health diagnoses navigate safety, life, community, and so forth.
Right.
And I have a wealth of lived experience to pull from to be able to help others.
Well, that's great. Is that rewarding for you?
Yes, it is. I think that to see someone be able to actualize their potential and to come out of crisis on the other side, the ugly caterpillar to come out on the other side as this beautiful, just amazing person that's healed.
Does it? So you've battled with this yourself,
Yes.
but is it difficult for you to be in that environment on a regular basis and not have it affect your mental health?
Yes, it is, because it depends in the capacity where I would be working at. Because most spaces where peer specialists are employed are in spaces where like they're directly working in direct service with with peers that might actually be in crisis,
Okay.
or that might be experiencing homelessness, either street or in shelter.
Have you ever experienced that?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I come with a lot of the experience of institutional settings, jails, prisons, hospitals, shelters, and throughout the last 18, I've got 18 and a half years of sobriety.
Good for you.
As a result of my the incarceration that kind of kept me from going further down the bad path.
Right. Do you ever go into the prisons to do workshops? Or
Yes, trauma permitting. I did some workshops with prison rights with Jessica Hall and Jen Fitzgerald.
I think Serge mentioned you did a
podcast here some time ago. Yes,
on that.
Yes,
subject.
and also I taught debate classes at Rikers too, and also
what classes?
Debate.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really amazing to be able to.
Was that with
Rikers Debate Project?
Right.
Yes.
The
detainees.
The inmates that
yes.
went to that?
Yes.
Were they experienced in that? Or?
No, it was just I wasn't experienced in it either. I just kind of picked it up, and it was an amazing opportunity to provide.
Did they take to it?
Yeah, they did. I think that some of the topics they really loved, and it was really funny to also be on the cusp of history when at that time where. In New York State, they're looking to provide persons detained or incarcerated the opportunity to vote, and across the country, and also they had some interesting debates.
I would think that the art of the debate actually would be a good skill if you're in prison.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of So if you can learn to work out that.
You'd be surprised, like how articulate folks are, and how amazing they haven't actualized their potential to the fullest, and for good. And I think that there are some amazing beautiful minds that are find themselves in
bad spaces. Right. Yeah. Right. Do you have anything, a poem that you'd like to read that would go along with what you just talked about with peer counseling or the work that you've done with mental health?
So there is a particular poem that I like to do called "The Caterpillar Not Turned Butterfly." It's a piece about depression, sometimes not coming out on the other side whole or beautiful or kind of put together. That's fine too. Right. It's okay to not be okay and be perfect.
Is this in any of your books?
Yes, that's in my first chapbook, Savage Garden, Concrete Jungle.
Do you have any of the books with you?
Not with me. I have PDF copies available.
All right. Not just because if you did it, we could hold it up to the camera. Where can people get these books?
They can actually contact me on my social medias or email. My username across my social medias is the same, Felix Guzman 81. That's FELIX GUZMAN. The number is 81.
What's the 81 signify?
My birth year.
Okay.
So Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, X, TikTok, everything. It's Felix Guzman 81.
Okay, that's easy.
So this one is called "The Caterpillar Not Turned Butterfly." The change into beautiful expected. One moment. Sorry.
No problem.
Let me do it again. The caterpillar not turned butterfly. The change into beautiful expected. Instead, I choose cannibalizing myself in my cocoon, asleep, Not dead nor aware enough to understand that darkness isn't all-consuming and breakthrough is awaiting once light pierces through. I wear hunger well, in fact bone deep. Flesh becomes taut and stomach touches back. Heaven and hell I endure graciously. Lost to the touch of misery right now, not a product of my environment. Is it really self-defeating or fulfilling a prophecy? A turn into butterfly, was I meant, or drown in piss and shit? The abyss of my lacking as I gasp for purposeful breath. I am as I was yesterday, a captive of my self-sabotage. World, I am the result of all the hate you gave me, hiding in plain sight. Forget opening myself up to a new 24 hours of light and it's lacking. I am staking a claim to this nothingness. I won't exercise my demons. Instead, I will wage war with everything I am. I won't fly off but bury myself while daydreaming. Why? Because it makes sense. Who am I, you ask? I'm the caterpillar, not turned butterfly.
That's great. I love that. What was your headspace when you wrote that?
So I'm someone with a facial difference, so that's something to kind of note. So that kind of influences a lot of my writing. I was born with a condition called hemifacial microsomia, which is basically it's a abnormality of the skull, craniofacial. And so a lot of my facial features are asymmetrical and kind of basically in some aspects I would look like the stereotypical version of how the media portrays a stroke victim.
I see.
And so I wanted to kind of show that facial differences and mental health disorders, there is still some beauty in being different and being kind of just a little bit on the periphery of quote unquote normal. And so I wanted to show that it's okay if the caterpillar never turns into a butterfly. It's okay to be you.
Yeah, caterpillars are actually really cool looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I like that.
Yes.
So is that what you just described? Was that difficult for you as a child or growing up? Or?
Yes, it is. Yes, it was. I had some surgeries over the last, 12 and a half years that provided me with a bit more symmetry.
I see.
So I have a scar on my left eye where they widened it out. My left eye was much more narrower. I was skinnier, a lot skinnier growing up. And so the facial difference was much more pronounced.
I see.
And it sucked. Right. I think, kids can be cruel.
And I'm sure that pain never left you.
No, it's something that I kind of have to work through all the time.
Right.
Believing that trying to believe that I can be loved in a healthy way.
Right.
Because unfortunately, I've experienced a lot of abusive relationships as a result.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the other things you mentioned is poetry as escapism and coping tools for wellness.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
I've been in institutional settings a bit of my life, and if you ever heard the phrase jails, institutions, and death in the 12-step rooms, I needed a change. I needed to work on myself, and I needed a break from delving deeper into sociopathy and causing harm. And so I worked on myself, in these settings. I didn't choose to join any gangs, involve myself in gambling, extortion, or any of that. I just wrote. As a pacifist and conscientious objector, it was kind of like that movie with the journalist that goes to the army but he doesn't fight.
Right.
The medic, I think it was, and I just wrote just to escape the 24/7, 366 palpable tension in the air in these spaces,
right.
The madness, and just
it must be hard to be in that environment and hold on to yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, but also I experienced some violence there, and so I had to kind of understand that I wanted to survive, and that meant being smarter with who I align myself with, and also just choosing to work on myself and my sobriety. And poetry allowed me that. I took to the 12-step books, the big book, AA, and the basic text of the NA book, and it just kind of, I found some quotes in there that I liked, that I built off of. And I had an amazing girlfriend at that time, Anna, who cared so much about me, and we'd write letters, and I'd write poetry in there, and
Right.
it was just an amazing way to just
So you had
stay
something
centered.
bright in your life
Yeah.
that kept you going.
Yeah, it was just great.
I think it seems like there's a lot of value in what you're talking about, because we tend to look at any group, really, but especially groups that either are in jail or in an institution for mental issues. And there's a devaluing of people like in that
Yes.
situation. And it's nice to hear what it's like to battle it. And
Yes.
your poems are bringing light to a subject that probably doesn't get heard from
Yes.
quite often.
I feel that I started an initiative called Poetry Saved My Life, with the intention of bringing poetry workshops to institutional settings, jails, prisons, group homes, detoxes, rehabs, churches, and schools, and so forth, with the intention of showing poetry as a conduit for self-care, escapism,
And change?
change, and also facilitating
Dialogue?
facilitating access to harm reduction
I see.
and recovery and wellness.
Right.
And I really want people to understand that everyone is a poet.
Right.
You can string two words together, you're a poet. You can say,
Well, if you have something to say,
Yeah.
you don't have to say it in a classical sense. Or,
yes.
I don't really write with a formal training
Yes.
and structure, but
Yes.
you can still convey a story.
Yes, I think that the great thing about poetry is just that you don't have to have an MFA to be appreciated as
Right.
as a creative, as an artist, as a poet. And,
Well, it's kind of like the difference between a classical musician who's studied form their whole lives and play very complicated pieces.
Yes.
And that's great, and we could admire that. But then there's a folk singer that maybe plays
Yes,
three
yes.
chords,
Yes.
but has something to say.
I think it's.
And then there's people in between.
I think it's just it's accessible. It's accessible to everyone, and I really would love to hear the uniqueness of new voices.
Speaking of new voices, how about you read another poem?
Okay, yes, I will. So this poem is called "When Breathing is an Act of Resistance." It's a pretty heavy piece, but it's very much a hopeful piece. When breathing is an act of resistance. Breathing is an act of resistance, the life giver to revolutions coming and gone, the breath coursing through lungs promised not to another, the undertaker of nightmares and conduit for all achievements. When all seems still, understand while we breathe, we move, gliding through the vacuum of space. Whether 10 toes planted firm or taking flight in dreams, when distance grows between truths being lived aloud, progress is made. Let us prepare. Let us prepare to fail, allow our fires to be reduced from overwhelming to diminishing to entirely overcome. We are gatekeepers. We are the love others seek for them. We are shipwrecks but still discoverable. We are poets with fortunes in our eyes, more than ever fathomable. We are truths lived aloud. We are the communities we want built for those to pitter-patter after us. We are the legacies we write to hold space for us in our absence. When all seems lost and gasping between cries, look for correction in the words of poets past and present to remind you how to breathe when you want to give up. Refuse to see yourself as nothing. At times to weather the storm, all to do is live. So live with the understanding that when all seems too dark to endure, breathing is an act of resistance.
Great. Where'd you get that idea from?
Trigger warning. I wrote that in response to saying I can't breathe.
Oh, okay.
During a wellness check.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Right. Got it. But it's also a very basic human thing, but it's not always easy to do.
Yes, sometimes there's so much conflict, and you kind of just gotta tolerate or accept things around you, and breathing is an act of resistance. Sometimes stop resistance gets said, but it's just like breathing is an act of resistance in that case.
Right.
Yeah.
Very deep.
Yes.
And very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was I was trying to incorporate more social justice pieces into my repertoire, and I decided that I kind of wanted to have conversations about what safety looks like when a person is in crisis and such, because it's important to know that that person that you see on the street who is actively in a mental health crisis, who is yelling or screaming or kicking things or pushing things, or in the train station, that person has almost lost all their dignity and humanity, and that person is still deserving of compassion and care, and to
maybe in some ways even more so,
to be loved back to health.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a tough thing to always, live, but it should be.
Yes.
Meaning, you see a person in that situation, it could be startling.
It's very hard to I think the media does a lot of sensationalizing things,
right.
And as a result, it desensitizes people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you become homeless, like the trauma snowballs, and you can really lose yourself.
Sure. Every step down makes it harder to come back up.
It's what people have heard on the news and the magazines, newspapers about shelters. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
But why does it have to keep being that way? And I should hope that if anything that I say,
maybe because of a lack of true empathy.
Yeah, I think
from people that are in government or serving.
I think that
community.
Sometimes people get thrown away, and there isn't a life preserver to bring them back, and it's unfortunate. But I hope that in saying this out loud, that people kind of take initiative to look into volunteering and doing kind gestures.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thought.
Yes.
So, when you've written your books, were they thematic, or did you just see that you had a collection of poems that you have a new book coming out?
Yes.
Was it did you write specially for that book and say, I'm going to write these poems for that book, or was it a collection of poems that you would just writing over the last bit of time?
That happened with my chapbooks, where I had maybe 5 or 6 poems already kind of that I had done before, and then I specifically wrote those for the chapbooks. For my full-length collection, I've had this manuscript in almost completed form since about 2020.
Wow.
And every year, imposter syndrome kicked my butt and said, it's not ready, work on it a little bit more, make it stronger, switch out some pieces. Mm-hmm. I was going to launch it last year, and then I kept pushing it back, and then I'm going to do it definitely by spring of this year. I'm entering into a contest that either win or lose, it's coming out this spring.
Okay. So if you don't win the contest, you're going to do it yourself?
Yes. It's a contest to poets and writers called Get the Word Out, okay. which provides new poets and writers the opportunity to have be connected to a publicity kind of team.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it works out for you.
Yes.
Yeah. How many poems are in the book?
The full-length collection it's about 148 pages.
Okay.
So yeah, I really wanted it to kind of stand on its own as a full collection.
Right.
Yes.
Does it have? Is it laid out with graphics and all that, or right now it's just the poems, and you'll do that later?
It's just the poems. I have an amazing cover art done by amazing mural artist Christy McCarthy.
Cool.
And
Do you have a picture of it on your phone?
Yes, I do.
I'd love to see it.
Give me one moment while I pull it up. And it's really amazing where I feel that things are progressing more and more. Where I am being given opportunities to do things in public and in the media and kind of get my stuff out there more and more and more. And I'm really loving it. I'm really loving it. When I get to a point that that I can truly say that I'm done, only then will I be done.
Right.
And here's the cover art.
Oops, I lost it for a second.
Wait,
yeah, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes. So in there,
that's a nice cover.
In there's a picture of two really specific things that I just want to point out. There are the
I can't really. People are not going to be able to see it. It's too small.
Yeah. But there is a barbed wire hanging off the rays of light, and then there's a quetzal bird flying. So I didn't know this, but the artist Christy told me that the quetzal bird starves itself while it's in captivity. Because it's meant to be free,
right?
And it doesn't. It doesn't know how to be in a cage.
Well, that's a pretty stark image.
Yes. I think that poetry has provided me space to be more than just like trapped by my traumas and confined by surroundings and such.
And there's a juxtaposition of two women.
There is a young African American woman, and then there's a non-binary kind of ambiguously ethnic person.
Okay.
Yes, and I wanted to give a chance for the stories of the diaspora of Afro-Latino origins. I think that because the prison industrial complex and the nonprofit industrial complex kind of relies on black and brown bodies, I wanted to kind of show that there is more to the circumstances of being a product of the environment.
I get it. So did you give the artist some of these, like what you're just saying now, and then she went about and did you gave ideas?
Originally, Christy had a painting, and we worked together to bring out things. Once I saw it, I loved it because I already had images in my mind where I wanted it to look like having like those 80s kind of like a romance novel kind of historical kind of
I can see that.
Books at that time had like this really great illustrated cover and such. But we came about the themes, the other themes collectively together in collaboration. And I just, because a lot of her work is rooted in social justice, the themes were already there. Right. And then I just gave them more meaning, how I saw them, what they meant to me. And it just came about perfectly.
Great.
I worked with Christy on a mural project called the New York City Mural Arts Project, where we co-facilitated workshops, and we put up a mural on in East Harlem.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So.
And what's the mural?
It's the theme is mental health is community health, and it has a lot of themes of the revolving around the community of East Harlem. It's on 104th and Madison, across from a school, and It's great. I'm a part of East Harlem history.
Right. That's awesome.
Plaque has my name. Yeah.
Oh, great! Congratulations.
Yeah.
How often do you get up there to see it?
Not too often.
Right.
I just interviewed at the place where I initially did the workshop at, so it might be every day going forward.
Right.
But I'm always kind of amazed of like how I kind of Forrest Gump my way through life, and like,
Right.
wow, like this is amazing. Like, how did I get here?
It's great to have
Yeah.
something like that's a little bit of a legacy thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope they take care of it in the neighborhood.
Yes.
I was just curious because of your background and all these interesting topics you're broaching. Do you ever think of writing a novel?
I'm writing a memoir about my life. It's interesting. I've started writing personal essays and compiling it. After reading my cousin's memoir, like I'm just amazed at like the stories that I didn't know about him while he lived his life while I was living my life. And looking back, like historically, like I learned so much about his hero's journey.
Right.
My cousin is Staff Sergeant Aquilino Gonell. He is the Dominican Capitol Police officer that got injured during the insurrection.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so he released a book on Counterpoint Press.
Just recently?
In November,
Right.
co-authored by Susan Shapiro.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Reading his novel really kind of gave me, his memoir gave me a pride of how he came to the country, and then like how my mom raised 4 boys on our own, and we all have these amazing stories that we could each write about.
Right. Do any of your other brothers do anything in the arts or?
No, they're more so kind of they're more sports kind of minded.
Okay.
Yeah, my 2 oldest brothers are in international finance. My little brother's a doctor.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the creative that
Right.
kind of wants to change the world with a book.
Right,
and,
right.
Like, see, you don't have to work on Wall Street to kind of do things, you know.
Well, maybe they should finance your book.
That's another story.
Yeah, okay. That's it for the next episode.
Yeah.
But do they support your art? Like, did they ever come to your readings or buy your books?
only one time has only once has one of my brothers actually come to my events. I think that I'm not sure if they understand the value of poetry to me,
Right.
But also the value of the arts
Right.
as a whole, because they're kind of like
It's a different world for them.
they're kind of like the I'm more of like the creative brother. They're more of like the analytical and logical, and
Right.
kind of like focusing on like, you know, like if you're not making money, then you know, like is there really like,
Yeah, well, I get it.
you know.
For the most part, my family's like that too. So I'm one of 7.
Oh wow.
And so me and my younger sister are the only ones that have really ever done anything in the
Yes.
arts. No one else really even
Yes.
seems to care about music or
Yes.
or art or poetry writing or, you know.
Yes.
Funny enough, my sister, she was you know in the IT world for a long time. Then she became a therapist.
Yes.
But she, as an adult, started playing the piano. And recently, I did an event with my poetry and music group, and she came, and she had written I got her to write a piece of music. She's been playing classical music,
Awesome.
but she never wrote anything.
Okay.
I said, well, why don't you try to write something for one of my poems? And she
Awesome.
did a great job. And then she did it again for, I wrote a poem about this. I met this 14-year-old singer at an open mic, and she
Okay.
blew me away because her music was, her lyrics were really poetic and very deep for such a young person.
Yes.
And it inspired me to write a poem about her. And then my
Awesome.
sister put music to that. Her name is Angelou&Shakespeare. She performed in the show that I produced.
Okay. Awesome.
And I got my sister to come up and play the piece without us practicing it, and she hadn't played it for a long time. Put her on the spot. It was the first time, you know, it was a second composition and the first time performing.
Yes.
But it was great for both of us to perform together.
Yes, yes.
At a late stage in life.
Yes.
You know, doing things we didn't do growing up. You know?
That is one thing that I would love to kind of have happen is putting my poetry to music.
Right.
To be accompanied by music.
Well, I got lucky. A friend of mine, we've been friends since the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best man in my wedding. And,
Yes.
well, we were both in bands forever, but we were both drummers, so we didn't really ever get the opportunity to play
Mm-hmm.
together,
Yes.
except one time we had a percussion project.
Okay, cool.
But he's been focusing on the guitar, and I've been focusing on the poetry.
Awesome.
And we just started doing it. And I tell you, I give him a poem, and it just seems like every time I give him a poem, he just writes the perfect music for me to perform. So you got to get lucky and find somebody like that.
I think that
You know, I sometimes find pieces of music that I find inspiration to read to.
Yes.
And so you can take something that was already written.
Yes.
And I've done that live. Like you buy one of those Bluetooth speakers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you know.
I do write to instrumentals sometimes,
right.
and whatnot, and I have this specific kind of sound that I would like, a blend of like Pacific Northwest hip hop / jazzy jazzy influence, Afrobeat.
Wow, that sounds good.
And,
that would be pretty cool.
And I just haven't been able to connect with
somebody who
either
could do
a band
that.
or a producer.
Right,
Yes.
right. So why don't we do this? Why don't you read another poem?
Okay.
And then I'd like to read one.
Okay. Awesome.
And then we'll continue the conversation.
Yes.
We're
So
getting
this
towards the
piece
end of
is
the show.
called "Brighter Burns My Light." So it's sort of a.
And which book is this in?
The first chapbook,
Okay.
Savage Garden, Concrete Jungle. And it's without sounding blasphemous. It's a affirmation / prayer to the divinity within oneself.
Uh-huh.
When there is no relationship with faith, but there's a relationship with hope.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you have to kind of power yourself through with that hope while the faith part is worked out.
Okay.
So brighter burns my light. So broken but not forgotten, alive, I am not a ghost of my past. Provided for as I need, I who have nothing, have as I asked. My yesterday's now a hella ways away from who I used to be. I believe you loving and merciful, blind never are you with how you love me. Brighter burns my light so because of you. Because of you, brighter burns my light so. Trace your steps through the darkness, I endeavor so always. Troubled but not wanting refuse another their peace. Away you sweep every tear before they stain the pillows of my cheeks. I who have nothing, with the hell of old have made peace. Brighter burns my light so because of you. Because of you, brighter burns my light so. What does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be free?
Awesome. You got a great voice. I mean, your poetry is very intelligent and deep, but it's good. It's your poetry.
That's my presidential inauguration poem.
What do you mean?
I would love to be able to, that's the piece that I would love to be known for, and I would love to, I've seen how I would love to follow in the footsteps of Maya Angelou.
Got it.
Honor the president.
Nice.
So,
okay, cool. So faith, is that important to you?
I have a relationship with hope that is much more deeper than the relationship with faith.
Okay.
I'm working on my relationship with faith. There's just a lot of a little bit of resentment and anger, and it's very hard to have gratitude for the complexities of the traumas that I've endured.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am grateful that I am able to surround myself with kindness that enables me to keep my humanity. But sometimes I feel that I didn't have the opportunity to be innocent as as others might have. So I'm kind of I'm working on my relationship with faith. I'm working on it.
Well, I think most people would, if they were being honest, that's a thing that you do.
Yes.
Right. So I brought a couple of poems.
Yes.
With me. I want to read one. I'm going to take a chance on it because it's along the lines of your subject matter.
Okay.
And I'm just hoping that I captured it correct because I don't have the experience that you have.
Okay.
But my poetry, I try to give voice to people or situations that are not normally given voice to.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite the same way you do because you've lived a lot of the things that you're talking about.
Yes.
But I for some reason, I have an empathy towards it.
Okay.
So this one's called Say Goodbye. I tried hard to come up with something poignant to say, but my mind got distracted and drifted away to a place where pain was a game and heartbreak a victory, a shiny gold medal for the lost. You stared at me with perplexed but understanding look. You've seen this before. When the sky fell and you had to pick up the pieces and I was committed, looking out at windows with bars. It might be time again, while I can still feel things slipping. I never wanted any of this, especially not for you. It's a great big beast of burden that eats us both alive at times. And the strength to fight is dissipating with each calendar we hang. Maybe it would be better if I just said goodbye one last time and take a leap from high up and free you forever on the way down.
Oh, wow.
Thanks.
That was great.
So what's on? So you're hoping? Well, no, you said you're going to have a book coming out.
Yes.
What else in the poetry for you field for this besides the book? That's a big one.
I have another podcast happening next month.
Oh, cool. What's the podcast?
Noel Figueroa and Poets with Purpose.
Nice.
And that's happening.
What's Poets with Purpose?
It's it's a non-specific it's an interfaith interfaith group of poets that share their lived experience to bring people into awareness of self in relation to community around the topics of faith and just creativity. And that's happening February 16th.
How big of a group is it?
It's a collective. So it's collective and it's very it's vast.
Okay. Nice.
And then in May I actually have a feature here actually.
Oh, cool. The Wayne Krall's?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, in May.
Right. That's what kicked it off for me because this is funny. I didn't. So I told you I started writing poetry late in life, and I like to tell a story because I'm here, largely because of Wayne. And I read one time before the pandemic, and the guy that was the host said, "Oh, you got to do it again." And then the pandemic hit, and it got stopped.
Yes.
And then once things opened up, I put a book out, and I told somebody I know was reading here. I was in a band with him. Oh, you should come and I'll introduce you to Wayne Krall. He's the one that's organizing this. Yes. It was when he first started.
Okay. Awesome.
So I came and he then invited me to do a feature. But then when I was here, I found out they had a podcast studio.
Awesome.
And it was free. I was like, all right, I think I could do that. I used to do broadcasting like on radio, but it was music based usually.
You definitely have a voice for radio.
Oh yeah. So I said, I think I can do that. I'm really glad I did. It's given me opportunity to meet great people like you and to learn from other poets and hear their stories. So I'm glad you're doing that. And it sounds like you already have a start to a number of positive things.
This year I want to see about traveling the country and performing at open mics and features.
Cool. That'd be a great thing to do.
So I would love to...
How would you organize that? Would you have to do research before you go and find out?
Yes, but also like social media is just an amazing way to meet people.
True. Right.
And, you can perform features virtually that people can see you see you live. And also just...
Where are some of the places you would want to go?
Florida, Lakeland, Florida. There's 2 open mics there.
Okay.
There's Chicago. There's
course.
Detroit.
Right.
I just got back from Los Angeles in November, and I was offered a feature at one of the libraries out there.
Nice.
It was really great. Another amazing poet that I had featured with previously, Yago Kura. Who's a librarian at a library out there in LA, and he invited me to feature one of the last Saturdays of whichever month I want to.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And,
so you maybe try to put some other things together.
Yes, I'm trying to
out there. So if you're going to
create
go
a
out
little
there.
tour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe go up to San Francisco.
Yes. I used to be a roadie, so
okay.
and also used to
roadie for what?
For rock bands.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah. So and also
was it a band I would know?
They were a new metal band back in the early 2000s called Relative Ash. They were kind of like a...
It sounds familiar, actually.
They were on Island Records.
Are you into metal, or you just fell into that?
I fell into it at that time.
Right.
And then I spent 3 years at Island Def Jam Music Group in street teaming, arts development, and publicity.
Cool. I didn't... see? You do have a music side of you.
Yeah. So at that point, I was just happy to be there for the music, and I just kind of...
So you had to travel in a van and sleep in the back of the van? And
and it was great. Like, it was great. I got to travel the country, meet people,
cool.
and it was great.
Right. You want to read one more before we finish up?
Sure. Give me a moment.
Okay. Give me a chance. I'll take a little sip of my water.
Okay, awesome. This one is called Be Kind to Yourself While Fighting. It's just about, kind of giving yourself grace when you're kind of processing as you're living. Be kind to yourself while fighting. Recovery looks good on you. More important is it that you hold no resentments than believe as yours another's truth. Guilt can be foundation building. Lived experience, the catalyst to the awakening and prerequisite to healing. Broken doesn't have to continue to be how we identify. A personal prison proves denial of the need for change. The pathway to change is self-love. So live, learn, love without conditions attached. Being more than enough, choose to refuse when hurting hurt. From a life lived from a place of ego, nothing good can be expected come. Addiction being a roundabout of evil, redemption begins and ends with an admission. A problem exists in the now. Beauty from ashes. Know that tears gone uncatched, poison not always the well, but color indeed everything touched, a measure of wet. Without water, thirst endangers but also empowers all alive to push forward. Dedication to service work and self-love is key. A moment is never promised. I found shelter in sobriety. When without peace and home, if you should fall, I'll pick you up, be mighty. Write your past down. Convicted, keep to your convictions. A soft reminder of humanity. Keep as gospel these 6 words. Be kind to yourself while fighting.
It's awesome. I like what you're doing. I mean, you're bringing humanity, hope, but also showing the struggles of people that need that light shine.
I think that
I mean, you have a real purpose. It's great. It's not just, not to say, I think all poetry should have a purpose, but you have a very specific one.
I'm kind of thinking about that question about what you said about relationship with faith, about faith, and I am grateful. I am grateful. I got to take back what I said earlier.
Okay.
But I'm fortunate to be present because of poetry being a conduit to life, but also the amazing people that saw this beauty in me that they didn't want to let diminish, and that just the kindness of a hug, a smile, a salutation, just speaking life into me, and that's what I would love to do with my writing, is just to encourage and inspire.
Well, I think you are doing that. Yep. Right. So we've been talking with Felix Guzman. I want to thank you for being on the show.
Yes, thank you.
It was a great episode. I was glad to learn more about you and your poetry. Don't forget, check out what will be coming out hopefully sooner than later. Your Felix's new collection called "You Hold Space, You Have a Value, You Are Loved." Look for that within, we'll say, by May.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Of this year, and May would be a great time if it came out because you'd be doing the reading here.
Yes.
So thanks again, Felix. Thank you, David, for being our fantastic studio audience over there. You've been listening to Storytelling on Orchard Street. Your host, Pete Salamita. We are fortunate to be able to have these great discussions, and we appreciate our listeners and the poets that come on the show. So thank you again, Felix. And
you're welcome. Thank you, Pete.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.